Hello friends, I am Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram. I have about 30 years of experience in teaching and food industry, have authored 56 research papers and 9 books by this time. This is my privilege that I am present here this day to talk about corporate communication. It's a very interesting topic, very effective topic. So I expect you to be with me for the next few minutes. So friends, the topic is corporate communication. So as the name suggests, the communication pertaining to a corporate, a business, right? We are using the word though corporate, but doesn't mean the topic or the content of the topic is not applicable on partnership firm or individual firm or any other form of business, right? Corporate is the company, registered with the registrar of the companies. So here we are using corporate communication for any kind of business entity. That is the first clarification I want to give. Now we all understand that a company needs to communicate with its employees at the first hand, with the public in general who are their customers or otherwise interested in the company. Company has to communicate with the government officials, with the different government agencies, with the labor union, with customer, with suppliers, so many people, right? So the company communicate, it means what? It means the company communicates within the company, the organization, and outside as well. Okay, so this whole process of creating and distributing information throughout an organization is known as corporate communication. So we are creating information, what we want to say about us as a company, as an entity. And how do we communicate that? How do we distribute that information? Through an advertisement, through a blog, through a meeting, through a Zoom meeting, through any flyer, any brochure. There are so many different means which we will discuss soon, right? But this is the whole process of where we are creating the information and distributing. So we are trying to control the message we want to communicate to the stakeholders. As I said, stakeholder could be anybody internally to the outsider. So, in other words, is sharing of information about a business entity, but in a very effective way. So, the important is we are communicating information, we are sharing information about our business, but we want to communicate effectively and in a way that the message is received what we want to communicate, what we want to share. That's what the corporate communication is, right? So this corporate communication refers to management of all internal as well as external communication to create constructive point of view. So we want to create a point of view amongst the stakeholders, be it customer, be it our employees, be it our suppliers, the government, general in public, public in general. So we want to create a constructive point of view. So they perceive the message in a constructive way and as per our plan. And why do we want that? We expect a preferred behavior from them. A particular behavior from all the stakeholders. We would want our employees to stay with us or perceive the company as a very good employer or a fair employer, a employer having transparent system in place. We may want our customer to believe in our product or services, believe in our services. We want government to believe us that we are a tax-abiding company, we are a rule-abiding company. So that is the preferred behavior. So we expect something out of the message we are giving to the stakeholders. Okay, so it's the total of internal and external communication. Managing of this aspect is basically a strategy we form, which we may discuss in later in some future lectures. Okay, so that's what corporate communication is. So in broad term, it comprises, any anything like social media posts to Zoom meeting to corporate memos which are issued within a company to notices. All kind of information or all means of information are used to create a particular message to seek a preferred behavior. We are seeking a particular type of behavior. From customer, we want them to believe in our product. We want them to be loyal to our brand, right? So we are seeking brand loyalty from them. Or maybe in the initial stage, we want to create awareness of about the product and the service. So that is brand awareness. So seeking a particular behavior, which we may call it as preferred behavior of the stakeholder. Okay, so this particular effort actually decides that how the fabric of business will be perceived, in how a business sounds in short, in essence, is actually targeted through corporate communication. Okay, so because it defines the culture, it defines the brand of the company for outsiders. Internally, it defines the culture. I don't want to name a company which is a very reputed company, multinational company. There was a particular article in a daily newspaper. Based on that, a case has been written. The case has been published in a Harvard Business Review, and the case talks about the toxic culture of that particular company. Employees are humiliated by other employees. The feedback is sought from other employees. Employees are compelled to work beyond office hours. So that was what brought in a particular article. So that speaks about the culture, that may have gone through messages or mails that you need to stay back beyond office hours. That could be simply a notice or a mail, but it spreads out. And it spreads out to the extent that it became material for a news daily, a very good financial daily, and basis on that the case was written. So internal culture is basically perceived with the help of communication we do. Okay, and same way the external brand is built. It's not only the internal culture, the brand, how the brand of a particular company is known in the eyes of or known in the minds of the customer or the stakeholder will also be affected by the way we communicate, the kind of the content we use for the communication, the medium or the channel we use to communicate about our company, about our strategies, about our policies. So it's a very, very effective means of creating brand, the communication per se. Now, as I said, there are a couple of mediums which we use for corporate communication. It could be newsletter issued by company. So there are a couple of companies, especially in technology side, with the companies which work in niche market, they publish newsletter. I was surprised to hear from my family member that there are publications about saplings, the plant saplings, and how to make bonsai, all those things. There are separate newsletter by many horticulture societies, many plant societies or green society. There are a couple of societies formed in the society, and they are publishing newsletters. So these newsletters are targeting to spread awareness, maybe to spread brand about a particular brand in that area. So those newsletters are medium of corporate communication. Reports, it comprises financial reports, sales report. Internally we have reports or of production, of sales, of raw material use, etc., etc. And same way we have external reports as well, which are published every year after auditing. So we call them as published financial reports, which comprises a lot more than just the financial data. It talks about the vision and the mission of the company. It talks about the CSR activities. It talks about the director's composition and many more things. Okay, so they are giving message about the growth company, the growth path of the company, future plans of the company. So CSR activities of a company. So this is how we are communicating to the journal, to the stakeholders, to the public in general, and other stakeholders. There are presentations made by companies. We at our academic institution, at our university, we get to see many presentations by companies who are supplying, let's say, blackboard, the smart board, companies supplying digital solutions, examination system, online systems, etc., etc. What are they doing? Through those presentation, company is trying to reach out to prospective customer, isn't it? So those presentations are also means of communication for that company who is selling all those products. So that's also a medium of the corporate communication. I'm referring both internal and external communication. Speeches. There are public addresses made by many corporate communication heads of companies. Especially, we have in the past seen that a particular product was having some default. There were, in automobile industry we have examples, in telecommunication we have examples, in food industry we have example. Without naming those companies, you may like to recall that there were cars which were having problem with the seat belts, were having problem with the some other part of the car, and they were called back. They were asked to be returned to the dealer, and thereafter new cars were delivered to them. So was with one of the smartphone brand. The battery was actually bursting while charging. So those all sets which were produced in that particular batch were called off. In those situations, there is an example of some fast food, ready to eat fast food. There was indication of some chemical in that food, in that product, and that company had to face a lot of problem regarding that product. The sale was declined very significantly. So in all these situations, what has happened? If you notice, there was a communication by the head of the corporate communication of those companies, reassuring the general public that their products are safe to use. That was an exception. All those products which were faulty have been called back to the site or to the dealer's shop, etc., etc. Why was there? So these were the general speeches, general addresses, assurance, because we wanted to make the general public aware. Our brand was already there in these examples. There was a brand loyalty even to some extent, but we use that to create an awareness. Those speeches, those public addresses, those blogs, etc., etc., to assure. If you recall, even the ads were changed. The advertisement which company was giving before that incident and after that incident, they were different. Even that the advertisement is also the part of corporate communication and was strategized to use for the corrective action. Recently, 2 months ago, there was a problem in one of the hospital, right? And the corporate communication head has to run to make a public speech, to make a public address. So I was by chance in touch with that lady who was supposed to be at my place, at my university as a speaker. She has to rush. She actually cancelled her program at our place just because of that incident. Now, other than that, there are promotional material in the form of flyer, brochure, certain pen, any kind of gift, any kind of memento, any kind of bag which has the name of the company, tag of the company. that is also talking about the company. Website nowadays is the most important medium to communicate. Most of us visit website of a particular company to know about its products, to know about the programs, know about the services, etc., etc. There are media releases. If the one way is to go live and address and make a speech, right? Another is you just release a media. You make a media release which kind of news, but we call it as a media release because that has a particular objective, released with some objective in mind. So those media releases are also a medium of corporate communication. There are so many other digital ways, digital content, be it blog, be it feedback, review, responses to the feedback, responses to the review. Last week only I was visiting Udaipur. The hotel I stayed, they requested me for the feedback, which I did, right? So that is a digital content. My review about the hotel, my stay at that particular hotel was actually digital content available to others. The future perspective, visitor to Udaipur city, exploring that particular hotel is basically digital content. And then hotel responded to me, to my review, thanking me for writing such a good review. So that is also digital content. And what is happening? The company is actually, reaching out to the current customer, and on the same hand is actually influencing the decision of the future customer, future clients. So that's how it goes. After this, I would like to talk about types of corporate communication. So friends, there are total 2 types of corporate communication. One, internal, and second is external. Both types have different objective. So the internal communication is intended to manage business operation, day-to-day operation, long-term operation, right? And the external communication, it intends to manage goodwill of the company, the brand of the company, right? So what all do we do in internal communication? What all we do in the external part, in external communication? So in internal communication, as we intend to do, operations effectively, we intend to manage our operations effectively, there are group discussions to explore, to talk about a product, to talk about any incident. For example, when the COVID just hit the country in March 2020, what has happened? I was working in a private sector everywhere in other part of the world as well. There were discussions in meeting after the meeting to know the effect it is going to create for the sector you are working in, the corrective possible actions, the future operations under the given situation. So those were the discussions happening in a group. So this is the managing operation, because companies were talking about how would they carry, because there were indication to shut down initial first 2-3 days. Everybody was apprehensive that soon the operations would be shut down. What will happen? How will we ensure supply? Is it possible to run the plant? Is it possible to extend the service? In education industry, we were exploring, talking, discussing how would we deliver our subject, our courses. Will it be possible for us to deliver online? What platform will we be using to deliver online? Will it be equally effective? How to ensure effectiveness of online delivery? Those were the discussion at an academic institution. There would be related discussion at other businesses as well. So that is managing operation only, example of managing operation. Other than COVID, on daily basis, there are group discussion to launch a product or not, when to launch, where to launch, what should be logo, what should be product tagline, who would be our influencer on the social media, who will be our actor or actress who will pose for our ad, like that. Daily reports. There are daily reports of cash inflow, there are daily reports of production, daily reports of sales being shared within the management, seniors, submitting to the super seniors, juniors submitting to the middle management, like that. So they are to manage the operation, to ensure we are achieving our daily targets, to ensure that whatever was planned for the day is achieved. Team meetings are there to discuss about products, services, projects, plans, etc., etc. Emails to employees is another example of internal communication to manage operations. So it is communication only, right? Then internal communication, another way of internal communication is idea boxes. Companies, especially there are companies which are into creative business, they would have idea boxes hanged at different locations, especially in canteen area, cafeteria area, smoking area. People will just drop their idea if they are hesitant of sharing in a meeting, so that any concern, any idea is not just been kept to the person, to himself or herself. It has been shared. So those idea boxes are also means of internal communication. There are shop floor discussions. If there are shop floor, the production unit is there, a shop floor is there, people will have discussion at the shop floor itself, so that they could talk about the assembly of the product, the process of the production, etc., etc., at the site itself. There are bulletin boards which communicates, which talks about the daily operation, the holidays, concerns, some action taken, some suggestions received, some appreciation. Bulletin boards actually telecast the bulletin about the company, about that any department or the company as a whole. There are clubs and societies within the business. Even they are meant for communicating, because they are supposed to be developing a particular culture. They are intended to develop. For example, at my workplace, so in my department especially, we celebrate birthdays of all the employees. So what does it mean? The message is that we are a family, we are teaching together, working together. So just to communicate a message that you are respected, we do care of your personal, special day, that is birthday. Okay, so this is what all we do. A few examples, of course, not all, for the internal communication. Now, if I come to external communication, so let's talk about first thing as advertising. Advertising is certainly a very important means of external communication. Here we are trying to develop our brand, our goodwill. So external communication is intended to affect the goodwill or the brand of the company. Press releases, I just said few minutes ago that companies do release press content on certain occasions. Some companies do it regularly. Some companies releases a press release when they have a new product launch, when they have some problem, there's some problem in the content, etc., etc., in the product or the service. Press conferences are being called up. We have seen the Prime Minister Modi calling of the press conference during the COVID time many a times, assuring the general public that they are safe, they are well equipped, they are, government is there to take care of the general public. So, same way we have press conferences by political parties, other political parties, by companies. So, corporate communication is intending to develop a brand, a goodwill, that we do care about our customers, about our products, about the quality of services, and we are working perpetually to improve the quality of the product and services. Public relation department, every company has a PRO, public relation officer, taking care of the RTI, answering to RTI, addressing to the questions made by somebody. Reaching out to government system, government bodies or other institutions. So that is external communication. Whatever they write, whatever they say, even a telephone, a telecall, a message on phone is also a part of corporate communication. Annual reports, as I said, they are also means of communication, but external. Lobbying and public affairs. Sometimes companies do participate in fair, trade fair we have, right? Every year we have a trade fair at Pragati Madan. Companies are coming together, all automobile company lobbying and capturing one pavilion. All a handicraft of a particular state. So they are lobbying, they are coming together and showcasing about a particular state, about a particular industry, about a particular product. So those are public affairs. They are means of communication. They are talking about a state, the product it offers, isn't it? Then the social conversation which takes place. The example I was giving of the review I wrote and the response I received on my review is a social conversation going between a customer and the company or a corporate on social media. Promotional events are there. We go to mall and sometimes somebody comes to us, gives us a pamphlet, gives us a product to taste. What is that? That is also a promotional event. So company is communicating about the brand, about the goodwill through that product which is distributed as a free sample, right? So these are the means of external and internal communication under the type of communication, corporate communication. I hope you could understand it very well. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you.